Hello there, welcome to the Guitar Show. This is Coffee Chat. Let me take a swig of coffee. Right, okay, so we're going to be talking about a few different things today. We'll start with relicing, guitar relicing. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Well, kind of half of me thinks it's a great thing, and half of me thinks it's a little bit silly. So what are the pros and cons? The pros are that if you have a Relic'd guitar, it's going to feel better, it's going to resonate better. It's going to cut that 20 years you need to really play the guitar in. So it's going to sound better and it's going to feel better. And looks wise, you know, it can look cool. You know, if you want to look like Keith Richards with his old Telecaster, then, you know, that's quite a cool look. You know, on the flip side of that, it's kind of like, it's a bit fake. So, you know, you haven't really made that, those kind of marks and dents and dings yourself, you know. So the guitar doesn't really tell a story. It's a new guitar which has been faked to look old, you know. So, you know, it's a tough one really. I mean, a lot of my friends and professional friends, musicians, own Relic'd guitars, and you know, they're fantastic guitars. I played them, they're beautiful, you know. I actually own one myself, so you know, I think they're really cool things. The great thing about buying a new guitar though, and I think this is where maybe people are going too far down the kind of relicing rabbit hole. When you do buy a new guitar and then you do make your own marks on that guitar, it can mean a lot more. The guitar can actually become a lot more precious to you and tell a story really. You know, I could give you a few examples. This guitar here, and this is quite interesting actually. I went to MJT, who make excellent bodies, and they relic them and paint them and stuff. And I said, look, I don't want a relic guitar. Can you make me a body which is not relics, you know, just as it came out of the factory? And they said, sorry, we can't do that. It's not what we do. We only do sort of, you know, old guitars, you know, sort of old looking finishes. So in the end, after a long email exchange, they agreed to do one for me. And I just said, can you also put a double layer of lacquer, you know? So they put this quite thick layer of nitrocellulose lacquer on it. And the guitar came to England in the winter time, around about now. It's winter now. And basically I opened up the case, and within a couple of hours it started to crack, you know. And then by the next day, if I do a close-up of this, you can see how it's cracked now. And the whole finish just, you know, went. So I thought it was funny that I'd sort of gone to all this effort to get an unmarked guitar, and literally within 2 hours it had just completely checked. So maybe that was the reason why MJT don't do unrelic guitars, because maybe the nitrocellulose that they use is sort of uncured, or I don't know what the word is, so that it does crack quite easy. Also, I lent this guitar to a friend of mine who plays in a heavy metal band in Essex, and so it's got lots of dents and dings, and you know, from its time with a heavy metal band. And then it came back, and I've sort of used it ever since. So all these marks on it that you see and dents are all, you know, natural, and they've you know, occurred over the years. So it's kind of it tells a story, you know. It's a cool guitar. And then I've obviously changed the pickups and stuff. So, you know, this is a guitar which now, you know, I would never sell, you know, because it's kind of, not only is it personalised, you know, with the pickups, but also, you know, just the kind of the cracked finish, and you know, it's got a story to tell. This is a new guitar. This is a great guitar. This is a sort of a ESP made Japanese guitar, handmade in Tokyo, and I've only had this. I've had this since last year, and I've really tried to keep it in good condition. However, you can see here, if I do a close up of the fretboard, you can see that it's now starting just to get some kind of cool marks on the fretboard. And that's the kind of cool thing about it, if you do get a kind of a newish guitar, is that all these marks are going to be made by yourself, and it becomes a bit more personal. Another thing is though to know, you know, the reason I buy these particular guitars is because they've got really thin finishes, so that you know, the lacquer off the fretboard comes off really quick, and you know, it just makes the guitar resonate more. And you know, so that's what I would recommend. If you don't go for a Relic'd guitar, you go for a new looking guitar. Try to get it so that it's a really thin finish, and something that you can sort of put your own marks on. Another cool guitar is what I call my Goose Koster, but you could call it a Kuda Koster because it's kind of based on Kuda's guitar. So this has been through the wars. It's quite an old guitar. It was given to me by a friend in Japan actually. The really cool thing about this one, the relicing on the fretboard, actually, you know, going to Morocco and Africa a lot and coming back to England, because of the crazy temperatures out there, which can get up to 50 degrees in the Sahara Desert, or at least, you know, like 48 degrees or something crazy. The neck's warped a few times, which has been corrected, and you know, sand's just got into all the fretboard, you know, and especially I was in a beach in right in the sort of southern part of Morocco, and there's actually a video on my channel. You can see me kind of doing a terrible music video, attempting to make a video out there, and this guitar actually got soaking wet, and so did I, and even my mobile phone was in my pocket, got wet and broke. It was a crazy story, but anyway, this guitar neck was completely soaked, but inside it, the sand from the beach it was a kind of black sand, and it's got inside the fretboard. So, you know, this now is kind of forever marked by that kind of happy accident in the sea in the south of Morocco. So, you know, it kind of tells a story, I think. And I'm not careful with my guitars, you know. They get banged around, and when I'm sort of going over to Europe for gigs and stuff, you know, I just put it in the hold, in the sort of upper, you know, in a soft case, and so I'm not precious at all with the guitars, and they get knocked, dinged and dented, and so I don't really need the relicing process on my guitars because, you know, I pretty much do it myself. The funny thing, which is quite funny, is some of my friends have got like Relic'd guitars from Fender, you know, like a Masterbuilt Fender guitars, and they're kind of really careful with them, you know. It's like, oh, don't make a mark on my guitar, you know. And I'm thinking, you know, your guitar's heavily relic'd. Who cares if you make a new mark, you know? It's almost like people are now buying these Relic guitars and then trying to keep them so they don't get any more dents on it. I mean, you know, it's got to that kind of madness, you know. So I think, like I said, half of me thinks relicing's cool, the other half thinks, you know, it's a bit silly, and it's nice to have a kind of a blank canvas and then to make your own mark on it, or to buy in a guitar which has had a long history, and you know, you kind of look at the relicing and you think, you know, how did it achieve that? You know, I think that's a cool thing with guitars, you know. Okay, I'm going to leave you with a quote from Robbie Cray, the Strong Persuader album, and a great line in one of those songs. He says, "She was just another notch on my guitar," you know. So he's saying that basically, you know, his relationship failed. He's got the memory of it on his guitar, and he's sort of moved on. Classic line. One funny thing I heard about Robbie Cray was that when he used to break a string, he used to literally just put the guitar, throw the guitar on the floor, and then kick it to his tech, who was like waiting in the wings. And you know, so he didn't, you know, a lot of artists don't really, you know, these are just tools, you know, we use them as tools, we love them, they're tools, but it's nice to, for the tools to get marked and used, you know. I think it's kind of like when you buy a new guitar, you don't want it to get a scratch, but when it gets a scratch you think, ah, I can relax now because it's no longer mint, and I can, you know, get it nice and relict and old looking, you know. You know, I mean, for example, Willie Nelson's guitar, that's a guitar that you need to Google if you haven't seen it, because it's literally now got a hole in it, and Willie Nelson won't let anybody repair it. You know, they kind of service it once a year, but they're not allowed to repair any of the holes or, you know, dents or whatever, you know. And that's kind of my philosophy is, you know, play guitar, treat it like a tool, you know, don't treat it, you know, with kid gloves. Try to get some marks on it, get some dings, get some history on the guitar. Okay, so that's it for Coffee Chat today. Wherever you are, have a great day, and let's catch up soon. Take care.